The facts matter.
Good morning, everyone. Virgo here. It is December 16th, 2020. Happy Wednesday to everyone. I wasn't actually going to post today. I was in the middle of doing some charity work, but this came up 22 hours ago on my feed, and I think it's important, being that I post everything I possibly can find that is SovCit related. This is definitely SovCit related, and many of you might be interested in it. The heading of this IdahoPress.com article that was written by Ryan Suppy and Tommy Simmons is called Bundy Group People's Rights Training to Defend from Government Force. I want everybody to listen real closely, okay? And then I will link this in the description for you to take a look at for yourself. These types of things are going on all over the nation, and mainstream news is not adequately covering it. In Boise, on Thursday, dozens of people assembled in an Emmett warehouse to prepare to defend themselves from an armed conflict with the government, which they believe is imminent. Amon Bundy, a conservative activist known for leading armed standoffs with government agents, led the meeting of People's Rights, a group he founded earlier this year in order to organize against government illness mandates. So this is mask mandates, for example. This year the group has protested mostly peacefully, although not always peacefully, at health districts, at the homes of public officials, at this year's special session of the Idaho legislature, and at police agencies that have cited or arrested its members. Throughout Thursday's meeting, where ominous references by Bundy and others to an escalation of conflict and the need to prepare before the world comes to an end, he states. Ahead of the meeting, a text message from the People's Rights Online Network administrators suggested the group needed to prepare for, quote, the force that is evident to come upon us. The meeting followed the arrest 2 days prior of the People's Rights member who was charged with disturbing the peace while protesting at the home of Diana Lanciendo, a member of Central District Health's Board of Health. And I apologize if I butchered that last name. I think it's correct. Weapons and ham radio training are among People's Rights' recent activities. On Thursday, Bundy encouraged members to train in small, militia-style groups of 2 to 10 people. Small groups are the most effective, he quotes, or he states, type of warfare, he states. Bundy, whose lectures are steeped in religious parable, implored People's Rights members only to use violence in defense which is, quote-unquote, righteous. Quote, it is never righteous to use it in offense, he said. It's unclear what event or action would trigger armed defense by the group. In 2013, Bundy participated in an armed standoff sparked by a conflict over public lands with federal agents at his father's ranch in Nevada. In 2016, Bundy led another armed standoff with federal law enforcement at Oregon's Mahler National Wildlife Refuge, also sparked by a dispute over public lands. The 40-day standoff led to one death. Lavoy Finicum, I think, a member of the occupation group, was shot by law enforcement during an arrest attempt. Boise Police Department Deputy Chief Ron Weiniger said on Monday that while the Boise Police Department doesn't monitor political groups, the department does have a liaison program that practices officer liaisons with groups planning events in the city. He confirmed the department has a liaison with People's Rights. Weiniger said he didn't know specifically what the liaison officer had talked to People's Rights about, but in general, he said, liaisons explain the law to groups and how to abide by the law while still expressing their freedom of speech. Quote, what we do is we monitor public information and certainly information that comes to us, end quote, Weininger said. If it relates to violence or advocating for violence against any specific individual or group or political entity, that is very concerning for us. And so when we do come across that type of information or someone provides that to us, then we certainly look to see if the violence aspect of that crosses the line into criminal activity. If it does, then we would take appropriate action. Last week, the Boise Police Department issued 2 additional arrest warrants for protesters at Laciendo's home. On Thursday, Bundy said protesting at the home of the public official is, quote, very peaceful and, quote, very effective. About halfway through Thursday's hours-long meeting, Bundy paused to allow people unwilling to or uncomfortable with the, quote, physically defending their neighbors the opportunity to leave. He asked for a show of hands of attendees who have served in the military and been in combat. We are going to start to build a framework, he said. We're going to start building tools and organizing ourselves to be able to act. Central District Health plans to meet again Tuesday to consider further illness safety mandates after its meeting last week was foiled by protests. People's Rights wasn't the only group represented at the last week's Central District Health protest, which had hundreds of attendees, prompted largely by a social media campaign ahead of the meeting by the Idaho Freedom Foundation, Idaho Liberty Dogs, Health Freedom Idaho, and others. However, People's Rights was the only group to take credit for the protests. At the home of board members, in action, other protesters condemned. Weiniger said the department is aware of another protest planned for Tuesday afternoon's Central District Health meeting. He said officers will be partnering with Ohio State Police troopers to police the scene and keep it safe. The department, he said, is apolitical. Officers will be there to simply ensure the meeting can proceed in safety. We will take appropriate action if violence is committed. I'm going to put the link in the description for you. Listen, people, this is not by any means the only scenario that's been going on. There have been many and lots of people getting hurt. There have been people being harassed, and there are people's children that are being threatened. Now, when I say that this is SovCit groups and movements, I 100% mean that. And even if you don't hear them running around talking about the right to travel, the basic ideology is there. So I am going to continue to post anything that I find from this point forward, as it is extremely obvious that mainstream media is not going to keep up with it properly. I'm sad to say that. I'm sorry to say that, because this is part of the warning that I've been providing to people for the last 5 years that I've been on YouTube doing this. But it's becoming a danger to society. It's becoming a danger to our communities. And it's something that is ramping up to be a big, massive mess. So I'm going to continue to report it no matter what kind of threats I get. And no matter who doesn't like it, because the more power that these individuals get, the more unlike America we're going to look like. I hope everybody has a great day, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.